Okay, 6 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. Brandy, she might join us.
Jeremy will not.
And Brandy says she might join us on Zoom call.
Okay, sure.
She might be here, she might show up anyway. We'll get started with the first item on the agenda is the roll call attendance. So do we have to do a roll?
It's good.
Okay,
David here.
Malcolm, here. John,
Here.
Randy is absent. Jeremy is absent.
And you're
Our
here.
associate member is also absent,
And you're here.
and I am here.
We have a quorum.
Pedro Pajano is here.
We have a quorum.
So any Form As?
No.
No Form As. Move on to the approval of the meeting minutes for the April 10th meeting as amended.
Move to approve.
Second.
As amended.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nobody left, so it's unanimously passed. We'll move on to the fourth item, which is the discontinuance of Ramsdale Road Planning Board review and report to annual town meeting regarding a proposal for the town to discontinue a portion of the town way known as Ramsdale Road. I will turn it over to Chris for explanation.
Okay, thanks. I'll share my screen so you can all get a sense of where Ramsdale Road is in town. It's in the vicinity of the Brookside School and Taft Farms near Route 183 and Route 7A, which is sometimes called Old Stockbridge Road. I'll just zoom in here. So it's up in this area. It's just west of Stockbridge Road, Route 7. And essentially it's kind of a spur off of Old Stockbridge Road. The property that is known as Ramsdale Road actually splits through the land of Hillcrest, which is the Brookside School, and then enters property north of the Brookside School and just kind of peters out. The road was laid out in the late 1700s. And it was laid out as a way to essentially connect through, it connected northeasterly over towards the base of Monument Mountain and what is now Route 7. So this is basically before Route 7 exists as you know it now, and indeed before Route 7A exists as you know it now. Ramsdale Road was it, or at least it seemed to be intended to be it. Over the years since those late 1700s deeds, it was conveyed and conveyed again. Eventually, in the 1930s, the way known as Ramsdale Road was discontinued by the Berkshire County Commissioners. And that's how roads were laid out or discontinued back in the day. The controlling law when that happens is that when a public way is discontinued by the county, its ownership and responsibilities revert to the town. Probably nobody knew or cared. A very similar thing happened. We discovered a very similar thing with old Route 7 between approximately the brewery and the CHP campus, where the town built that paved walking path.
Oh, that was it.
That was the old Route 7 layout.
Oh, okay.
Route 7 sort of did a big S curve through that, what's now the paved trail up to where CHP is, and then kind of old Route 7A, and then kind of wound its way up the mountain before the state Department of Transportation straightened the road, and now it's a straight shot. In any case, this is a similar situation to the old Stockbridge Road where we built that trail because the county discontinued that area and it reverted to the town's ownership. It was only when we were talking to CHP about improving pedestrian safety that Smitty and others said, wait a minute, the town actually owns this. You could build a trail here.
Yeah.
This is sort of similar, so, not that we want to build a trail here, but we found out in a similar way where the abutting landowners of so-called Ramsdale Road have been having some property disputes. And as they engage surveyors to figure out where their individual property lines lie in this area, they discovered this thing in the old deeds called, that was so-called Ramsdale Road and laid out, in the manner described. So in order to, solve these problems, they came to the town and they said, does the town in fact know that this road is here? Does the town in fact maintain it or plow it? And the answer was no, no, no. We have nothing to do with it. The town doesn't maintain it, doesn't spend any funds on it, has no public interest in maintaining it. There's no sewer underneath it or anything like that. So the road can be discontinued, if the town, wants to do so. I think it makes sense to do so. The process to do that is the select board first says, yes, we intend to discontinue this road and take it to town meeting for a vote. No road or public way can be discontinued unless the planning board, sends a recommendation on the matter, so that's why we're in front of you tonight for that recommendation. And then, assuming there's a positive report to discontinue the road from the planning board, then the voters at town meeting on May 3rd will vote on it.
So Chris,
And I'll share some other maps here as well.
do any of the abutting lots use that as frontage?
No,
No.
because it appears that the lots were all either ways in existence. Or they in fact owned at least to the middle of it, if not to the other side.
But it's not gonna make any of the lots non-conforming.
I think the way in existence would still qualify to make a lot of building lot in that area. Let's see, here's another.
It looks like on the map that they all have frontage elsewhere.
This was the map drawn by the county commissioners when they laid it out. So we took the meets and bounds from those old deeds. And this down here in the bottom left corner of the screen, which is I guess the southwesternmost point of so-called Ramsdale Road near Brookside School. It's down here on the left, and it goes and curves around and would have met at the top right corner of my screen, what is now Route 7 Highway. But you can't get there from here anymore. It's
What's the
just-
age of this?
It's all woods and it's steep slopes and
It's 100
ledges.
years old.
100 years old?
It was originally laid out in the late 1700s.
Or 1700s.
Yeah, the deed, the original deed was 1764. So just a few years after the town existed. So that's what's in front of you this evening. I hope that is as clear as a non-existent road through the woods.
I think we should send a positive recommendation.
Is that a motion?
Discontinue it.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous.
Okay,
No opposition.
thanks very
Let's
much.
do that. We'll move on to the fifth item on our agenda, which is town meeting prep. Review and approve planning board's report to town meeting.
Okay, so I did draft the planning board's written report. To town meeting. As this board will remember, when the planning board has zoning articles before the town meeting, the planning board must have a written or oral report to the meeting on each article. And typically, the way we do this is we we write it, chair or vice chair in this case, will sign it and file it with the clerk. And each of you, depending on whomever's presenting the article at town meeting, will read this portion from the report. So I did send it to you the other day. Jonathan did have some markups, which you see on the screen in red line. And I didn't have any issues with the changes.
I just have a question. Why did we end up with RCD? Like, instead of saying cluster residential development, we have residential cluster development. I was just thinking because cluster is such a unique word, it would be easier to remember and it would start the development there. The
You
name.
could, but this is the way the board approved the article and that's how.
That's the way it's on the warrant.
Well, it dawned on me that cluster is a better way to start, but, okay,
You'd have to amend it on the floor of the.
I could do that.
You could do that.
If everything was going well, I'd get on the.
Yeah, bring it in right. Bring it in right.
Am I allowed to do it before I get up to the mic?
No,
Okay, so is there any discussion on the updates? Or
The whole
the edits?
I don't think so. It's actually, I thought Jonathan's edits were good, clarifying.
The only thing that I wanted to check, Jonathan, was
Yeah.
the 275 acres.
Yeah, that was what
Yeah.
I've heard. I thought you'd have an exact number.
Yeah,
Or we could say approximately 275 acres.
I'll say approximately.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know what the actual number is.
Every time I looked it up, it was 275.
Yeah.
Probably the same size.
I've heard people
Well,
say
it
different.
becomes real because people keep repeating.
That's it.
It's important to put that number out there because so people understand what we're talking about.
It's scale.
Yeah,
All right, so suppose we have to give assignments, right?
No, can I talk about the slide notes?
are you okay with the, if I have the report
okay.
right now? If you're okay with the report, I'd like the board to endorse the report and give the vice chair the ability to sign the report.
Is there a motion?
So,
Go ahead. You can second. Second.
Move on the motion as stated by Chris, and there's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Great.
A lot of
thanks.
burden on.
So Chris, so we've got, so Jackie would like to comment on the slides, but we also need to assign who's gonna read what, right?
Yeah, usually you choose who's gonna do which article.
Does anybody want to volunteer?
Well, usually who's running?
I'm not.
Is Brandy the only one who's,
I think so. It's Brandy and Jeremy. Maybe they should, well, Brandy's not gonna be at town meeting, so Jeremy, maybe she got 3 of them since. they're not here.
those Brandy?
maybe
is-
not.
So Article 23 is the first one, that's the cluster.
Does anybody want to do that one?
I mean, I'm happy to do it, any one of them, but it's up to the board to decide who does it.
I'm happy to introduce it, but have you and take the questions. Or everybody take. the
I think it's
No, we
okay.
don't stand there and answer questions.
I think it's okay if you introduce and then we're always, typically, one of us is gonna be around to answer anything that you might not be able to.
But if anybody's uncomfortable with me doing that, I have no problem.
No.
No.
With the first one, Article 23?
Yeah,
Okay, so Jackie will do Article 23.
So you'll read the formal motion, which we'll write out for you.
yeah.
And then,
I'll practice with John.
yeah. And then you'll read the.
But I'm going
As long as
to,
he doesn't rewrite it.
After the motion is made and seconded, and then the moderator will ask for the planning board's report, and then you can.
then I can change the name of it. Sorry.
I'm
So-
good.
No, it's not.
So, we probably have to talk about where the slides fit in then.
If you want to do slides.
The-
Well, can we get through these assignments first? and then
Oh,
we'll
sure. Sure.
Oh, chair.
So Article 24 and 25, I'm happy to do Article 25. Want to do Article 24?
Sure.
All right, so John will take care of 24. I'll do 20, unless you want to do one now. John?
No, that's fine.
You can do 25 if you
I'm
want.
not running this year.
Yeah, I'm not running either. Okay, so I can do 25, Jonathan will do 24.
Okay.
Okay. So now the slides.
Do you want to do slides?
Excuse me?
Yeah, does the board want to, you talked about it last time, that maybe visuals would be.
Yeah, can you show them this so we? 'cause
Yeah, I'll show you what
I thought there was too much, but
yeah.
Me
it-
too,
It may be, and this is
but I thought it was a good start.
definitely
thank you for doing that.
how you're sure you get them, how we want to proceed. If I can find the share.
So,
We typically just start with the first article. So this article consists of a slide of text and then a few visuals of what cluster development could look like.
so I was wondering about the text because it's essentially what the planning board introduction to it puts out there, and this is just a little repetitive, I thought, so.
We could just put the planning board in report on the slide. So people
If-
see it as Jackie reads it.
if you
and
need
they
it.
absorb it better.
Yeah, if you need it.
I think it's nice to have, well, it depends upon how many words there are.
Some people hear it, some people see it, learn
Yeah.
differently.
And I mean, there's a lot of words on each one of these slides, so it's,
I would suggest just having this up while while Jackie
Yeah, the
reads the,
woman.
yeah, right, whoever it's.
But there's three of them, and you have to,
take your time.
you'd have to be moving through it.
Well, I wouldn't read this slide, I would just have it up there as Jackie looks at it, and then I'd have the two slides that follow showing PERD versus just one of each, one
Well, it
PERD,
wouldn't do
one.
PERD versus, it's not PERD versus, it's the,
Yeah,
you were making the case, it's a McDonald's house or something.
right, well, that's what PERD encourages, the McMansion.
Well, it's, what's this one, looked like one house filling up the whole
It's
space.
not really PERD versus.
No, it's not.
Okay,
Okay, but.
so it's
I have a
large
question.
versus cluster,
I have-
yeah, livable.
Yeah, I mean, because this is the part I stared at and thought about, and I'm wondering, one, I thought it's too late at this point, but what are we doing with that page that says zoning amendment process? We're not dealing with that at all,
We don't have to.
because that's before you get to Article 23.
Yeah, I guess it's,
I mean,
doesn't really need to be said unless you want
If you're
to
worried about timing or time,
give
this doesn't
people a
have to.
background of how you got here. but-
I actually didn't think that this first slide was a bad idea, because I don't know that people know how zoning articles get enacted. And the different layers of oversight and public hearing and the whole thing.
I actually agree with you, because I thought this was, that we come out of the special town meeting and it needed probably a little more clarification of certain terms or where we were. And I think this is a really nice way to set it up.
Well,
And that's an introduction to all three articles too.
sounds
I can do that.
Ah.
that.
Yes,
Yeah, I can do
yes.
that, and then.
Well, no,
That's great.
No, I just thought the slide does that.
Yeah,
but.
No, but
can
you want
talk-
somebody to.
but
yeah.
somebody has to introduce
Yeah,
the
yeah.
slide. Okay, here's our zoning, for those of you who aren't aware of the zoning amendment process, here's.
Or we could just say, take 30 minutes to read the slide, or 30 seconds, and we'll read the slide, and we'll come back.
Might be 30 minutes.
No, I think, I like, I mean, if it's okay with you, Malcolm, I wouldn't mind if you kind of talk. through
Oh,
that.
I think we should, if we're gonna show it, we have to introduce it,
Yeah.
and I think I mean, it's not a bad thing.
No,
It's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing.
And when we're saying zoning amendment process, are we talking zoning bylaw amendment
Yeah.
process? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're not
The zoning bylaw or map?
okay, all right, so
Probably should add the word bylaw too.
I think we should.
Yeah.
I mean, the map is part of that.
Now I feel comfortable reading.
What's interesting here too is when I read it, just reading it for reading's sake, I thought, oh, we had public hearings on just one date for all three. And
That was the public hearing.
that was a killer hearing.
I could have listed all of the meetings where we talked about this since
No, but the
Way
the
back.
public hearing is an official thing, so.
that's the official.
So of the articles we're presenting, it seems to me that the third one with the multi-unit and lot coverage that should be a majority vote, right?
I'm asking council. I'm asking council for
Okay,
what the, this is relative to the last bullet there. Most zoning amendments require 2/3 vote, but
Right.
those that allow certain types of residential housing by right, or reduce parking requirements and things like that, are now just majority vote only. So I'm asking,
Okay.
there's certain
okay.
I'm happy to ask.
fine points. about-
So if David says yes, then this would be a good time to just say, and by the way, the third article we're talking about is only a majority.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think the first one might be majority only too, the prairie or the RCD, but I'm checking.
Okay,
I'm happy to ask.
So we should
for-
probably say most,
advice.
most zoning proposals require 2/3 vote.
Do most,
If they're not housing related.
you just get qualified.
I'll just make that a little bigger in case.
So do you guys think it's a bad idea to introduce the warrant article? And then rather than read how we traditionally read a planning board report, to just go through the slide?
As the planning board report.
As the planning board report.
So we throw out all that stuff. Well, I think we have to include the plan. You have to sign it.
But do we have to read it out?
I think
Does it
so.
have to be read out?
I think so.
It doesn't have to be read. No,
It has to be issued, right? As part of the.
Is it part of the warrant?
Yeah.
They'll have it in front of them to look at.
I believe,
I don't know. What we read was ever part of the warrant.
in practice, you read it on the floor, it's never been printed.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Does
if
it
we
have to be read? There's something that
But,
has to be
but it
read.
only takes 30 seconds to read it, so it's not a big deal.
I'm just suggesting either or. Where we have this visual in front and it can be more casual than reading.
But this is general and,
That's very particular.
and the introduction is specific.
I don't know.
I think it's, I don't think I think it's a bad, it doesn't work for me anyway to read slides.
Mhm.
It works for me to talk over slides. Here's
Yeah.
the, so why don't we have that first wordy slide for each article up there, show, so people can read it while the person's reading,
While
the.
they're zoning out to what.
I think it's-
Zoning out.
I think it's a
Jack-
distraction.
Because I think,
Yeah,
for
I think you
example,
want to focus on what they're saying or what you're.
Well, some people don't
I
really
think-
learn by listening, they learn by reading.
To Chris's point, everybody kind of learns differently. I could be a good listener sometimes.
I like
Oh,
pithy, I don't like a lot of words on the slide. I wanted like a bullet point and maybe one or two smaller points underneath it, but then the person who's presenting is giving the wordage and so,
Mhm.
and developing it. However, this is an interesting one to get to, because I was going to ask you, so this cluster zoning right now is replacing PERD? Do you want to say it's a replacement of PERD, or is it being allowed because we're 86ing PERD? Or is this an excuse to get rid of PERD? I was just wondering, is there a direct relationship?
The PERD doesn't work.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the point that you want to make.
Well, what number
Yeah,
one
yeah.
says it deletes PERD and replaces it with RCD?
But see, I was just wondering, is there anybody who's really pushing for PERD? Or or we just assume people don't know what PERD
No.
is?
and you're. I think you're making the point in the report and on the slide
Mhm.
that the board has worked with the PERD. You know it doesn't work for what you want to produce, but what do you think?
Yeah, just look at North Plain Road.
Yeah, how you think the process should go and how you think it should be designed.
Because the way it's presented here, it's like we're not leading with the powerful thing, like we're coming up with this great new development plan called cluster residential development, but I won't say that. But it's, but all of a sudden you say that's what we're talking about, but we're getting rid of PERD. And then you give a sentence that says we got rid of PERD for X, Y, and Z and X, Y, and Z. It would always make me at that point, if I wasn't a member of the board here, to go, well, what's PERD and why are they getting rid of it? And what are we losing that we don't know we're losing or something? And what triggers that concern a little bit is the way you bring in the McMansion Because it makes me think, are you all of a sudden anti-McMansions? Are you anti-big housing or big houses? Or, I thought you were creating like a negative space there for the positive of more affordable, more homes, cafe affordable and not. And I'm just doing this as a general public member.
Okay, if this is gonna stand alone, I agree with you. But if at the same time you're reading, the board discussed PERD regulations, including their failure to meet its stated person, the PERD is
Well,
unnecessary.
then that's
complex.
legit
Yeah.
to hear.
Well, see, this is why I
Yeah.
think it's good to read this while that's up on the screen. Because that gives them the facts.
Well, that's a good one, yeah.
So, but I mean, and so
So do you
you're
want to get into that much detail?
tonight or
Not tonight.
yeah,
Town
in
meeting.
town meeting.
I would read the report, let the slide be up long.
Okay. And then, I think we could, then what about that McMansion?
Well, I like the juxtaposition of the mansion
Yeah.
and the residential.
Yeah, I think those are the selling points. Those visuals.
Is that no
Yeah.
longer allowed under,
Well, you wouldn't do it with a PERD.
No,
not with the PERD, but you basically are saying that this,
That's what the zoning allows.
you can still do it.
you can still do it.
Yeah, PERD doesn't, I mean, the.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. We didn't just secretly kill that.
You can still do this if you want. And what you can't do right now is a series of smaller homes on one parcel efficient.
That,
The next
that's,
page.
that's,
Yeah,
Even though the master plan says use land efficiently, et cetera, conserve land, et cetera, promote a variety of housing opportunities, your zoning doesn't always do that.
Yeah.
And so that's what you discovered in writing, in working with the PERD, that's, you're seeking something to actually allow what the town
allow what
says
we
it wants.
need, so to speak. Okay, I was just pushing on that one because it hit me funny.
So in the same lot coverage area of an R2 lot, you could build an 8,700 square foot mansion for one family or 6 cottages for 6 families.
See, I like that I like the fact that the McMansion's in black and white and this is in color, so.
And then have after that, or, because it means that almost, and then you get into or cluster housing.
What do you mean?
Well, let's just see the,
What?
or just the word. I mean, it seems like,
No, I don't need, we know, we either need this or we don't.
Yeah, I think this one is kind of superfluous. The other one sells it.
yeah, we don't need to repeat that black and white photo.
I like that picture better
Which picture?
than that one.
I don't, because it doesn't emphasize the housing as much as the flowers.
And it's actually not this.
No, I would just,
Yeah,
get rid of that whole. Because we're allowing anything
It's
color we're
true.
allowing.
Then not this.
yeah, the not this is allowed by right, but
All right, I gotta believe it.
That one. And it'd be nice to have at least a couple good photos of cluster housing.
well,
That's fine.
We'll count that one in the other.
Yeah.
We're not gonna. Okay.
I especially like the septic system in the foreground.
But the landscaping will take off. Okay,
So can we move to the next article?
that's really dense.
Presuming the report would be read while this is on the screen in large font.
I just think that's a distraction.
I was thinking it should break into 2 pages,
What I do think is,
so we can read the type at least.
what I do think is good about having a slide for this is to show the map.
Yeah, I don't think you need this tree at all, actually.
Yeah, I think that's what you need.
Okay, here's the campus overlay district, while the report is being read.
This one shows it as an aerial, which
Yeah.
may be useful for some people.
Yeah.
This one shows it on the zoning map where you can see the R2, the R4 and the water quality all in one place.
I like that.
So you can, I mean, I think both are useful.
I would use both, they're both visuals, they're
Yeah.
nice.
When do you transition from one to the other?
Yeah,
At what point in the
Yeah, I'm
presentation?
not sure.
So that's We'll
Are we going-
axe the
Are we gonna have
the
one of
text
those
and
functioning as
just do the maps.
image changer?
Usually Chris
I think
has-
what the zoning map shows is it's valuable, but I think it's too complex for the meeting, because I don't think town meeting really cares where the individual lots are. They're more concerned with that.
Okay,
But then I
That's fair
have,
enough.
have trouble grounding where I am.
yeah,
If
that's
you don't have those
context,
written
yeah.
out, and you do have one, but they're not.
Well, you can point it out. This is Alfred Road, or this is, everyone knows what Summers Rock campus is.
And they'll know that that's Lake Mansfield.
Yeah, they don't know it goes all the way, I didn't know it went all the way like Mansfield until. we
No, you
started
don't,
looking through.
yeah, so you really don't know. I mean, it would be good for somebody to say from here to here. Or by the way, that's like.
Or point out, that's like Mansfield and that's,
Maybe Peter and Kathleen are gonna buy the whole campus and flip it. What do you think of their butters?
Okay, so we're gonna do the two maps or just the one map?
Well, keep the zoning in there in case you want.
Yeah.
Because this is the one that's actually in the warrant text.
This
that's in the,
the
or,
zoning one?
Yeah, it's in the printed warrant.
okay, good, good.
All right,
All right,
This
we'll keep,
this is the literal amendment to the zoning map.
yeah, okay.
and should we have these use slides to allow them?
Well, I think we should, maybe we wanna have that instead of that first introductory slide.
Just think it's 3 slides, though.
Yeah,
What are we gonna
What's
do?
wrong with that though?
Back
I
and
mean,
forth between them?
I just think they say what we're doing and we're saying it large up on
I
the
know, but
screen.
if we're showing it, because it's 3 slides, I think we're gonna have to go through them.
Yeah.
or they have to correspond to the words that are being spoken. So that whoever's
Well, you
flipping
could
the
say
slide.
ranging
But
from
the
X to
introduction
Y.
doesn't, the introduction doesn't go into that detail.
Doesn't go into that detail.
This is directly in the text, so
Right,
people will
exactly.
have it in their printed warrant, have them already.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So you may not, unless you.
Or you could pick out from this to that, includes this as well as that.
but I think in introducing it, you can say, if you look at page 38 of your warrant,
That's a good one.
you know, these are the permitted uses by right, and then these are by special permit, and these are not permitted.
So we don't,
It's
Yeah.
good emphasis.
Okay.
That's good
That's fine,
emphasis.
but I think that's.
so we don't need these.
I just think it's complicated because it's 3 different slides. It was all on one slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, and it's.
You can't fit-
it's a lot of text.
One slide, so, yeah, I don't think we can.
So you think we should just have the one slide with the map?
Well, the 2 slides.
Well, everybody's gonna be
I like
interested.
the overhead and then the
Yeah.
zoning one because it's the one everybody will be familiar with
Yeah.
because it's in their hands.
Next.
That was the subject though of so many discussions. Do you think people are gonna feel weird that it's not gonna appear there, but some, well, they'll have,
No, because
People
people,
only want to
they'll
vote
have it in
to,
their lap.
they only want to vote to swim.
this is the first time I've ever used slides, so let's keep it light for the. first
Okay,
time.
I'm sorry, this is
It's
slides.
not,
Let's keep it simple.
Kirsten's brought slides before.
Yeah.
Let's give him some credit. He's brought slides
Who
before.
has?
For zoning? Oh, I guess we have.
What year was that?
Remember
Yeah,
which one?
look at everybody district stuff.
So Jackie, anything else?
Yeah, on this, I'd say black
On
and white
Article
is,
24, yeah.
oh, Article 20. I was just thinking about it. Okay,
Do you have anything else on Article 24? that you-
no, I love Article 24.
All right, on this one. You know, we
So
can
much
keep
to
this up, it's simple.
Yep.
We can keep it up if you want, if everybody's good with that.
Yep.
I have an overview note.
Like,
Uh,
no,
No, I think it's too tough. I think it's too hard, it's too harsh. I think a darker color that contrasts very clearly with white, but it's friendlier. Darker. And then when there's a key word that you want to emphasize, or like you have a muted yellow for requirement for multi-unit projects, or it looks like you tried to put a color up there.
That's a new color, yeah.
It is, it's yellow.
I would kind of make it more visibly another color.
It depends on the contrast with.
That's
with
correct.
your blue.
I know.
I'll see clear nice.
When are you gonna put it on paper? When do you need that color? Do you want me to spec the colors?
Yes, spec the color, send them to Chris. Seriously, that's an order from the vice chair.
Don't take orders from the vice chair. You have to ask me. and
What about the
I-
prime minister?
All right, is there anything else we need to cover for the
Jeez.
town meeting prep?
No, this is great, thanks. I'll just make some changes and send it around and change the color.
All right, sounds good. Good, thank you.
Chris,
Anything
thanks for
else on the
being so
board on that
flexible.
item? All right, we'll move on to item 6, board and committee updates. Malcolm, you got anything? Jackie?
Yeah.
John? No. I got nothing either. We'll move on to number 7, town planners report.
See you all Saturday for the EDA plan meeting.
Mhm.
All I have to say.
All right,
That's good.
But that's a hybrid meeting, eh?
Yeah, we'll zoom it as well. And we posted it as a meeting of the board, so it appears on the calendar.
Did we do anything to get people to come or?
There's been some advertising and
You
social
did?
media.
Okay. All right,
so it's gonna be a sort of formal meeting with an agenda and the whole thing, or what?
No, not really an agenda, but because the quorum of the board is likely to be there and they're likely to discuss things, better safe to post it as a meeting. The agenda is just a presentation and discussion plan.
And that will be done by the fellows from PRBC.
Yeah,
Did it to us.
So, any idea how long it's gonna be?
4 or 5 hours.
and we're
I'm
This
sorry.
is for Martha, so.
the planning board's not taking any action.
No,
Yeah.
really discussing.
Just information.
Yeah, receiving information.
Yeah, okay.
We're driving up to Lowell after the meeting, so I was just curious. I shouldn't take more than an hour, should it?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, if amazingly a lot of people come, they really want to dig into it,
Okay.
it could take longer. But
All right,
I
well,
swear to God,
I'm on major.
It could
meds.
take a long time to get all those people with walkers in.
well, plus we're paying BRPC to deliver this, so it better take some time.
So I'm on major meds tonight and I brought Matza if I could eat it. I mean, I think I need to eat it so I don't get sick. But, where's the meeting?
Firehouse.
Fire,
Not this firehouse, the other one, the new
the
one.
big one?
The real one.
You know what, that looks exactly like the firehouse in Tucson? I mean, it must be from a book.
All right, citizen speak, anybody? Nobody online, nobody in here?
Well, there's nobody
Who's
here.
here? Claudia's
Well,
here.
nobody wanting to speak. I mean, nobody wanting to speak. Well, without objection, I'll adjourn the meeting at 6:40 or 6:39.
Wow.